10 years, 18 movies, 30 superheroes, and it all comes down to this.
All these different franchises colliding and all these storylines that have started such a long time ago have all woven together.
Who the hell are you guys?
As the films have progressed with Civil War and now Infinity War, we're just going to continue to surprise people.
There was an idea
To bring together a group of remarkable people.
to see if we could become something more.
Avengers Infinity War is the culmination of a decade of storytelling by the folks in the MCU, that would be the Marvel Cinematic Universe, bringing together all your favorite superheroes from all your favorite MCU movies into one incredible film. Well, I should say two incredible films, of which this is the first. How does it stand up? Is it worth all the hoopla? Is it worth all the work and the decade and the characters and the investment to get here? And does it pay off? Well, let's take a look with 5 things you might want to know about Avengers Infinity War. Oh yes, it pays off big time, at least for me. There are a couple things that I think might make this movie a little divisive. Let's hold those for the end and let me just gush all over about what I loved about this movie, starting with the big, gigantic moments in this movie. There are so many of them. You know those moments in a movie like a Marvel movie or even a Star Wars movie, or something you really care about, where something happens on screen and you just get goosebumps all over you? There were many of those in this movie, some of them the most intense I've ever had, where there's a euphoria that comes over you at what's happening on screen, and there's nothing like that giddy feeling that storytelling can do when you're invested in a property, like I'm invested in the Marvel movies. I will also say, because of those big moments and those chill bump scenes, the movie doesn't feel as long as it is. It's what, like a 2-hour, 40-minute runtime? This is a long movie, but it grabs hold of you right at the beginning and gives you moment after moment after moment. I never once felt this movie was too long. When it was over, I was ready for more. Here's the other thing the movie does really well. Somehow it handles all of these characters. Somehow this movie not only manages to tell you all of these different stories, but not to treat any of them as less valuable than another one. Kind of what I thought coming into this, with this many heroes playing this many roles, is that some of them would be more like cameos, Maybe the Guardians of the Galaxy would be over here and they'd have like a 5-10 minute scene where they'd make a cameo and go, "Hi guys, we're the Guardians of the Galaxy." And then we'd go over and we'd visit these. No, it is interconnected. These characters are in each other's spaces. They are all playing a big role in what's going on in this movie. So you get so many combinations you never thought you would see of characters interacting with other characters, of having big impactful moments with other characters that have never been in the same movie together. What an amazing storytelling job they've done here. Not only getting all of these characters into one movie, but making them all seem valuable to the story in a way that you cannot pull them out. That's a trick, and a trick I think they pulled off well. The other thing I love about these movies, the sense of humor. This is so funny. Laugh after laugh, big laugh after big laugh. I've heard people talk about the sameness of the Marvel movies and how they all feel the same and have the same tone. It'd be nice to see something a little bit different. You know what? When you're connecting them like this, it kind of makes sense to have the same humorous tone. When, you've got Guardians coming into contact with Tony Stark and you realize, oh, they've both got this same kind of jokey sense of humor, so they work together. So you put all these people together in the same movie and it feels right. So that may be a positive for Marvel movies kind of feeling the same and having kind of the same thing they're putting on screen. That sameness allows them to come in and out of each other's stories without feeling the screeching halt of a difference in tone for those characters. And what a great fun tone it is. If anything else in a Marvel movie, this one included, you're gonna have a blast. So I told you there were a couple things that I think might make this movie divisive, very divisive, in fact, and let's do those now. Although I will say for me, neither of these things was a big deal. Let's start with the ending of the movie. Now, I'm obviously not going to spoil anything. I don't do spoilers in my review. But the ending of this movie, I think, could be divisive. The way this movie chooses to finish, I think, is something people are going to be talking about. And when we do get to have a chance to have a spoiler conversation on the podcast or wherever, I'm excited to talk about it. But beyond that detailed conversation, just know that there is likely to be one of the biggest discussions you will have about the end of this film, and you may disagree violently with people who like it or don't like it. For me, I loved it. I actually really admire the way that they finished out this movie, and without going into any more details or spoilers, it's about all I can say. The other thing that comes along with Marvel movies that I know gets to a lot of people, but again, doesn't really get to me, are all those why didn't he moments. You know the moments I'm talking about? Where you're looking at a superhero and you go, why didn't you use this superpower to do this? Or you're looking at a villain going, if you have this villainous superpower, why didn't you do this instead of this? There are a lot of those possible questions in this movie, as with any of these Marvel movies. I guess the way I choose to look at it is, there are a lot of why didn't he's in life. I'll look at other people's choices in life and go, why did you choose to do this when you had this at your disposal instead of this? People make choices, and I think once you allow yourself to just go, okay, they're making choices in the moment. Maybe you'd have made a different one. Maybe you feel like it's a dumb choice. The point being, they're making choices because they're allowed to make choices. Once you look at it that way, I think it's easier to loosen up from that mindset. But if you're locked into, oh, these guys are stupid because they're making bad choices, I think that might get distracting for you really quickly. Overall, though, I had a blast. What a fun culmination to a decade of storytelling. This is a fun movie. It's a funny movie. It's got those big moments. I loved it. Even with a couple of possibly divisive things, I think it sticks a landing on one of the highest level of difficulties I've ever seen. Therefore, I give it an A. Thanks for checking out this Your Movie Friend review. We'll get to the Best Ever Challenge here in a bit. Before we do, though, let's hang out more. Hit me up on Twitter, Aaron Dicer, Aarondicer. Good to be back, by the way. I've been away for a little bit of a health scare. You can find out more about that on the podcast, by the way, if you want to. But yeah, hit me up on Twitter. We'd love to converse there. We can also, speaking of the podcast, do that at SiftPop, SiftPop. Just subscribe, however you do your podcast. SiftPop is SiftPop is the name of the podcast, so we can hang out that way. And support what goes on here at Your Movie Friend at patreon.com/YourMovieFriend. Thank you to so many who have come on board and supported what goes on here. Absolutely means the world to me. All right, on to the Best Ever Challenge, where you name the best movie ever in a particular category. Also try to identify my choice. Let's go with Best Ever Big Cast Movies. Let's say 8 stars or more. Now, there's more of these than you might think, and some really good ones. In fact, one of my favorites is probably an obvious one, what it is. I will say it doesn't have too big of a cast. In fact, it has precisely the cast that it intends to. And let's just, for the sake of picking one, say the middle one. Take a guess at mine in the comments. First person to get it right does get a point. And as always, I'd love to hear your choice as well. So leave your choice or a clue in the comments. I'd love to see that. As always, I'll give you a few extra seconds to hit subscribe here on YouTube. All you got to do is click my face.